Hey everyone, welcome back to Pine Hollow Auto Diagnostics. It's after Thanksgiving. My brother is visiting from all the way from Indiana. He drove his 1996 Lexus ES300 down. He just picked this up for a good deal and just needs some maintenance. It has some issues that we want to address during this trip. So let's see, what's the history behind this? How many miles does it have?
Okay, so I think we're just about to hit 206,000.
Okay.
I'm the third owner. I bought it from a guy who, I think he must have bought it off of lease. He bought it in 1998 when the car was only 2 years old with 30,000 miles.
Yep.
And this guy was just real meticulous. Oil changes, you know, at the Toyota dealer every 5,000 on the nose. For the most part, did any sort of recommended work, all the work it's ever needed. He did the timing belt when he was supposed to. I think it got, looking back through the records that he provided with me, it got valve cover gaskets at 140,000 miles. It's only needed, I think, some CV boots, also around the same mileage, and at 193 it got some exhaust work and a new wheel bearing.
So just minor wear and tear stuff.
Yeah,
but
the crazy thing is, when I bought it, all the suspension, the front end, all original, shock struts, all original, ball joints, tie rod ends. When I bought it, it had a bit of a clunk in the rear, so I just replaced this rear sway bar bushing. That's all it took. And I did the brakes all around when I got it. So,
okay, so all new brakes.
Yeah, the kind of standout thing is it's due for a timing belt, and it has the ABS light on. Apparently, when they did the front left wheel bearing,
messed up the sensor.
When I dug into it, it's kind of a weird situation. So, the sensor is really screwed up. It's all busted up, and they kind of screwed it back in place.
Let's see. So look at this power plant. We've got the legendary with the V6.
Yeah, so 3-liter, 1MZ.
In there. Was it 1MZ FE?
Yeah, so they put this on, I don't know, Camrys, Siennas, the ES300. Pretty solid motor. I guess they're kind of they have a reputation for sometimes sludging, for people that don't change the oil at recommended intervals, but as long as you change the oil, I don't think a whole lot goes wrong with it.
So they don't burn oil like the 4-bangers in Toyotas, right?
No, I don't think mine burns
this thing
anyway.
Sounds butter smooth at 200,000 miles, which is amazing. So we're going to be doing the timing belt. And one other issue that my brother wanted to address is the issue with the blower motor. So do you want to get in and show him how what the problem is with the blower motor? Alright, so we have the automatic climate control, right?
Yeah, so the issue is at any setting, it always blows low at the lowest setting like it's supposed to.
So you can turn it off completely, right?
Yeah.
So there's no blower there. Okay. Then you turn it on.
So it turns on to low.
Yep.
But when I change the interval, it's supposed to be speeding up. There's no change. It stays on low, it stays on low. Still on low.
Yep.
And then finally, at the highest setting, it kicks on at high.
Okay. Okay, so you only have low and high speed and no intermediate.
Yeah, all the intermediate speeds are all at low.
Interesting. Okay, so I'm not really familiar with the system, but I think we'll pull up a wiring diagram and hopefully figure out how it works and what the problem could be. So this blower motor schematic, this is the OEM wiring diagram. I got this from BBB Industries. So here's the blower motor right here. And this is not your typical, power and a series of resistors with manual low, medium, high speed. This is a kind of a smart system. You have your AC control assembly, that's the head unit with all the buttons on it. So for the blower motor to work, it looks like there's a relay right here, and there's a big 40 amp heater fuse coming straight from, I guess it's tied right into the battery, so that's always hot. This relay needs to be turned on to send power to the motor. And see, in that side, I guess it's a 5-pin relay, otherwise it's grounded. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now looking at the other leg of the blower motor, there's a splice right here. Let's see, let's follow one of the legs. There's another splice right here. There's another relay right here. And this one's actually called extra high speed relay, so that's a clue. So if we follow that leg, if this relay is enabled, that is tied straight to ground. Okay. So and then right here it says blower resistor low speed. So that's another path to ground. So let's say, just hypothetical, this relay's on, we have power to the blower motor, and the ground side is either directly tied to ground through this low speed resistor, and then you crank up the fan speed, and then the head unit clicks this relay on, the extra high speed relay, then you have a direct path to ground through the relay. So that's your high speed operation, I think. Now what about intermediate speeds? That's where this AC power transistor comes into play. So this ground leg, after the splice, if you go into this smart box, you can actually also find a path to ground through these transistors, and through that one. So, and then it's again tied into ground right here. So if you want anything higher than low speed, the current's going through this resistor, and then these transistors are being commanded on in some sequence. So you get some current flow through this AC power transistor assembly, and that increases the current flow through our blower motor. So you get medium speed, medium high, and eventually this relay is separately turned on for super extra high speed. So that's how the circuit works. Now we know that we do have low speed operation, so this relay must be okay. This resistor must be okay. And then we also have the extra high speed, so this relay's fine. So it looks like the issue is with this AC power transistor box, whatever, smart resistor assembly. And it has, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 wires coming to this box. One of them is the control wire for the ground side of the motor. The other wire should be a ground. And these two, number 2 and number 4, it looks like they both go to our head unit controller assembly. One it says BLW and the other one is VM. So if you look at the internals here, there's a fuse right here. So that could potentially be just a power feed. And then this guy right here comes in through a resistor, ties into the control wire. That might be like a feedback, feedback loop, how fast the blower motor is spinning. So kind of an interesting setup, but I think the issue is with this box, so we have to find where it lives and do some wiring checks at those 4 wires. So we have located this AC power transistor. It is right near the accelerator pedal, and it lives inside of the HVAC box. There's the 4-wire connector, so we might need to move the gas pedal out of the way. It looks like 2 Phillips head screws, and this thing should pop right out. We could do some wiring checks right now, as it is, to confirm that this is indeed the problem. Alright, so we're doing some wiring checks at this AC power transistor assembly. First, let's check the ground wire. It is a white and black on pin 3, so that should be a constant ground right there. So we have a test light. It's hooked to battery positive right now through a little adapter. And we're going right to the ground pin, and it looks like we have a nice light. So let's have a loaded circuit. We're going to turn the fan on. And that ground stays good all the way through the fan range. Okay, so that wire is okay. Next we're going to check, let's see, let's check that black and white wire. That's the motor ground. So that one, what do you think should happen to our test light? Well, I think it'll depend on what the fan speed is. So if we're only, let's say we're in high speed, then this should be a good, solid full ground. So our test light should light brightly. If we're in low speed, if this relay's off, this voltage here will be elevated since it won't be a full ground. So our test light might be dim. So that's my hypothesis. Let's put the test light on that wire. So first, if the whole system is off, what do you expect? Well, I expect a bright light since we're still grounding through this resistor, even though we have no power feed on that side. So let's stick it in there. Okay. So it is a bright light. So now we're going to turn the fan on to low speed. Oh, check that out. Very, very dim. Just as we expected. Now as I ramp the fan up to extra high speed, there you go. Bright light, dim light. Beautiful. Okay. Let's turn it off. Now we have 2 more wires. Okay, so we have 2 wires left. This yellow with a white and BR, assume that's black with a red. Yep, there it is, black with a red. So the black with the red wire, it looks like, is a sensing circuit for for the control leg of the blower motor. So with our test light on there, it depends on what the value of this resistor is, or if our test light lights or not. So I don't know, we could try it, but we might not get anything on this wire. So if our test light is, let's see, first let's try from battery positive. If this resistor can carry enough current, we'll still ground through that leg. So, nope, it does not carry that much current at all. So we might just get a regular voltmeter and monitor the voltage on that pin. Okay, so we have our voltmeter hooked up. The ground is, a known good ground. And then here's our probe. So if this schematic is correct, on this brown or a black and red wire, we should see the same voltage as on the black and white wire, since all we have is a resistor right there, and that's not carrying any significant current, since this is just a sensing circuit, for the head unit. So let's test that theory. Let's first test the black and white wire. Let's say I'm on a low speed setting. I'm going to turn the fan on low speed. And you can see here we have, make sure we have a good contact, 7.7 volts. Okay? Now let's go to the black and red wire. We should see something very close to that. We see 5.4 volts, right? Let's try high speed. About 1 volt. Back to lower speed. 5.5. And then when it's off, that's, whatever, half a volt, but not really meaningful. There we go, low speed, 5.5 volts compared to the black and white wire, which is, let's see, black and white, 7.7. Okay, so there is some voltage drop happening across that resistor since the sensing circuit draws just a little bit of current. But in any case, that wire is fine. Now let's go to the last wire, the control wire, and see what's going on there. Alright, last wire here, this yellow and white, that is, I presume, the control coming from our head unit. And the higher the speed that you command, the more voltage we should see on that pin. So let's start with low speed here. That's one bar. Let's see, we have about 4 volts, 3 volts. Oh, what's going on here? 3.2. It's dropping. I'm going to crank up this fan speed here. 3.2. That's super high speed. So it's doing something funky. That's as low as it goes. See, it's slowly dropping off. Now I want to unplug that connector and see what the AC amplifier is actually sending out, since that voltage is kind of goofy right now. Alright, with our AC amplifier unplugged on the control wire on the yellow and white, we see low voltage. Now that's on the low speed of the fan. Now I'm going to ramp it up. That's speed 2, speed 3, speed 4. Oh, there's a change. So we have 3.1 volts on speed 4, and then super high speed, that's 3.1 volts again. So again, without this unit plugged in, the system doesn't really know what to do, but we do know that that wire integrity is good, at least from the AC control unit, because our voltage changed and the AC amplifier is unplugged. So in this case, we suspect that this box is indeed at fault. So wouldn't it be nice to try out a new AC power transistor? Now, before, when my brother bought this car and told me about this problem, just taking a quick look at the wiring diagram before doing any checks at all, this is the part I suspected. And luckily he has a junkyard nearby, and he went out and picked a part. So that's what this thing looks like, huh? And how much was that part?
$6. So I looked it up. The factory OEM from Lexus or Toyota. From the dealer. $330. So nice. $1,600 car that didn't really fly.
Yep.
AirTex wells replacement part on Rock Auto is about $130. But I figured, well, for $6 and a fun trip to the junkyard, I can afford it.
There we go.
Gamble. So no guarantees that this is going to work. But,
so what are we going to do? Play some Swaptronics, plug it in, and see if it fires the blower up. Okay. So this is an original part. It looks like Denso, made in Japan. It's old, so there's no guarantees here.
And for what the car that I took that off of, it's same color Lexus. I think it may have been a different year, 1 year older, but man, that thing was beyond trashed. So I'm a little skeptical, but hey, for $6, let's give her a go.
Yep. So let's plug it in and see if it works. All right, guys, moment of truth. The new power transistor is plugged in. Let's see what happens. Oh, baby. Speed 2, speed 3, speed 4, extra high speed. Woo, that's a win.
$6 plus about this invaluable troubleshooting and labor, of course.
So for $6, we got our medium blower speeds back. I think that's fantastic. Let's do a couple of quick checks on the known good part, just to compare for curiosity, but the diagnosis was 100% accurate. Alright, so we're back on the control wire on the yellow and white. The fan is in low speed, we see low voltage. Now next speed up, See 1.4 volts. Next speed 1.5 volts. Next speed is 1.6. You hear the relay click, that's super high. Back to 1.2. So it's kind of curious, not exactly what I expected on that control wire. Let's go to this monitoring wire, the black and red. Let's see here. This is our black and red on low speed. Let's see, off. You see 0.6. So speed 1, speed 2. This should drop as the blower motor speeds up. Speed 3. Speed 4, super high. Three volts, 4 volts, 5 volts. So that is doing what we expect. It is monitoring, basically monitoring the fan speed, you know, that partial ground. So 5, 4, 3, 1.7 and 1 volt on super high. So the only real kind of mystery that's puzzling me right now is that yellow and white control wire, why we're not seeing a linear voltage on there. We'll have to get the scope out and see if it's a square wave or something. Alright, so final check here, just for my own curiosity, at this power transistor. I have a current clamp around this yellow and white control wire. There it is. Now what I want to measure is the current going into the base of this power transistor. Now in this case, the current into the base actually controls the current from the collector into the emitter. We can do a separate little video on how a power transistor works. But in this case, I just want to ramp up the fan speed and see what our current is going into the base of that transistor. So let's see, fan speed 1, we expect no current since that should be off. Now speed, second speed. Let me re-zero my current clamp here since the currents that we're measuring are very small. Alright, so re-zero the amp clamp. Speed 2. Speed 3. Speed 4. Super high speed. So, for example, right there in speed 4 we're seeing 10 millivolts on the amp clamp. Now, if 1 volt is 10 amps, 100 millivolts is 1 amp, 10 millivolts is 1/10 of an amp. That's on this yellow and white wire right here. And then as we ramp the speeds down, so we have, let's see, so it'd be 0.06 amps, 0.02 amps, and basically 0. So, nice little case study. Good thing we fixed this. I guess this will be part 1 of the Lexus series, or I don't know if we'll have time to videotape the timing belt procedure, but in any case, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.